Was a mouse on a farm once, and the mouse realized that the farmer had set a mouse trap. And so the mouse started going around and telling everybody, y'all got to help me get rid of this trap. Y'all got to help me get rid of this trap. And so the mouse went over to the chicken and said, hey, they set a mouse trap. The chick said, man, I love you, but it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not a chicken trap. He left the chicken and went over to the pig. He said, man, you got to help me get rid of this trap because they set a mouse trap. They trying to get me, dog. And the pig said, I love you, man, but it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not a pig trap. And then he went over to his friend, the cow, and he said, hey, man, y'all got to help me. There's a mouse trap in this house, and if we get together, y'all can help me get rid of this. The cow said, you know I love you. I got your back, but it ain't a cow trap. Well, one night, a venomous snake got caught, tail got caught in the trap. The farmer's wife walked in the kitchen, did not know that a venomous snake's tail had gotten caught in the mouse trap. The venomous snake bit the wife. She became deathly ill. Well, when someone gets ill, what's the first thing you have to make? Chicken soup. And so the chicken was pulled from the farm and chicken soup was made. The woman got worse, and church members and family members began to come by and visit early in the morning, and the farmer needed some bacon and needed some hot links. So guess what got pulled next? Mr. Pig got pulled. Then the woman ended up dying from her injuries. The venomous snake actually killed her. And it was a funeral, and they had to prepare for a repast, and there went the cow. The moral of the story is this: when one of us is threatened, we all are threatened. When one of us is going through, we all go through. When one of us weeps, we all ought to weep. When one of us rejoices, we all have to rejoice because we're in this thing together. You ought to thank God for your community.
All I hear is talking, I don't sweat that. If they don't trust me either, I respect that. But she be down the ride, oh, I bet that. Ooh, I slide for my people, don't forget that. Don't forget that, don't forget that. Ooh, I slide for my people, don't forget that. Don't forget that, don't forget that. Ooh, I slide for my people, don't forget that.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is J.H. How you doing, Postal family? Is everybody good? Is everybody cool? Everybody clean? Are you crisp? Are you feeling irie today? Let's talk. United we stand, divided we fall. United we stand, divided we fall. I don't know if you understood the message, but it is quite evident that all the infighting is causing great distraction to the bigger problem. And we all know what the bigger problem is. Well, I forgot to say, but first. There is no but first. Let's just jump right into it. Let's jump right into it. So we've all heard it before where we say, yeah, that's not my problem. That's not my issue. That's a mail handler thing. That's a clerk thing. That's a truck driver thing. That's not my job. I ain't getting involved in that. I'm gonna just mind my business. And it's because of that, we will still continue to be on Jay's comments, just complaining and moaning about things that we won't change, although they're things that can be changed. But again, the subliminal message was very direct. It's very direct. United we stand and divided we fall from every single craft. And again, the beginning of the changes started a long time ago. So now we're in the midst of the changing. And I'm going to jump into an article because one person that I had on here one evening, Mr. Jamie King, decided that he was gonna step up and start some foolishness. And this foolishness, I'm not saying because of him that things are changing better for the rural carriers, but he wasn't afraid of the pushback. Okay, a lot of us refuse to step up because we're afraid of the pushback. It comes a point where we cannot sit by idly and allow things to happen without at least giving your best effort or your best foot forward, putting your best foot forward. Because what happens to my brothers and sisters at the post office is eventually going to impact me. It's not okay that they're going to be clerks that are losing their positions. It's not okay that truck drivers, may have their routes cuts or carriers that are going through the pay cuts, or people are not getting enough pay, such as the mail handlers. It's not okay. It really isn't. I mean, I get great money, right? But mail handlers can't come on here and say, I get great money. So it's really not fair. Now, that was just an example. I'm not saying that I do. You understand? That's where the whole mindset of us not giving a rat's ass about our brothers and sisters. And a lot of our brothers and sisters may not give a rat's ass about us either, but that's because of the nasty culture that we have. But again, I'm going to start this article. And the article doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, but again, because one person decided he was going to speak up and push back a little bit, things start to change. It's a good thing. On September 30th, rural letter carriers were notified of the latest changes to their weekly routes under the controversial Rural Route Evaluated Compensation System. We spoke about this in detail, which will go into effect October 7th. Unlike the first round of evaluations under REX, the route hour cuts and lost wages were not as drastic, signaling a correction from the REX algorithm. While some rural carriers saw continued losses, others recovered hours lost in previous evaluation. Jamie King, a 13-year rural letter carrier from Florida, told the Prospect, I recovered about $6,000 after initially losing $15,000 when REX began. So again, if he did what he did, and it's not like he just sat back and continued to do the wrong thing, because if he knew, okay, this REX system is reading my scans, my data, and I'll continue to just not do my work, he won't recover certain things. Now, he had a voice. He pushed back, but he continued to work and corrected whatever mistakes that not necessarily he didn't do, but they didn't inform him of. So he still continued to work. He still continued to strive with the union, even though he had some issues with the union. And he started to make some gains, right? Another one from 5-year rural letter carrier from Delaware told that he lost 2 hours from a route. Others in his office saw similar cuts rather than sharp hours cut, which means that if they started out with, let's say, 55 hours, then they lost 15 during the initial cuts. Then they only gained about 13 back. So they lost 2 total. I'm guessing that's what this means. So they did diligent. They followed through. They did their job and they gained what they were supposed to. While wages have fluctuated a little because of the 6-day week, he barred from collecting additional pay. Most people are relieved, Mr. King said, but there are still a lot of issues that need to be addressed. Those concerns include transparency over the data being fed into the REX, which the union's rank and file and lawmakers have demanded answers for since long before the REX implementation. So it also says currently rural carriers are tracking every component of their job through a device that collects rural activity scans. Beyond the typical data points of clocking in and out for a shift, taking lunch breaks, and delivering packages, REX demands more. The scanner requires rural carriers to document actions like the time it takes to move a package from their vehicle to the doorstep, the number of trips taken to drop off mail at a cluster box, time spent on a detour, packages retrieved for delivery, extra time spent at the end of a route sorting mail, and so on and so forth. Every individual data point goes into calculating a rural carrier's compensation. Theoretically, the data taken together should reflect what the job entails, adjusting wages accordingly. But in practice, because rural carriers are running routes in areas with spotty connection, at times of extreme weather, their devices can fail to collect the information they provide. The consequences of the situation put railroad carriers in a catch-22. They can't dispute inaccuracies with route changes because the data supported wasn't technically recorded. Every individual data point goes into calculating a rural carrier's compensation. Even when a rural carrier scan is operational, King expressed concerns over accuracy. He gave the example of a trailer park with centralized cluster boxes for mail. At a typical home, a rural carrier can easily track the distance between the mailbox and someone's front door for a package delivery. That's the distance you're getting paid, he said. But in setting like a trailer park, the measurable distance can fluctuate, and it's not as clear if Rex can track those differences. It doesn't sound like a lot, but all of those scans add up for the day and all averages into your time. It gets very complicated on how the system is capturing this data. Again, I'm not going to continue on with the full story, but again, this is about data. This is about us doing due diligence for each other. The data. I've been telling you guys that the data means everything. I believe I even said it in my last video that if we do not do our part in doing the work, obviously just do the work. Because if we're not doing the work, if you're not scanning the stuff coming on and off your trailers, if the mail handlers are not doing their scans and recording everything, they're going to feel like that person isn't needed. That's what happens. These people are going around and they're watching us. They're just watching. They're watching the mail handlers that are playing on their phones or watching TV or hiding. They're watching. They're watching the regular mail carriers that veer off and decide to take, 2-hour lunch breaks when they shut their scanners off. They're watching us truck drivers when we decide to sit at a station for, 3-4 hours instead of actually being productive. It's all about production when it comes to this place. So realistically, and it may sound pretty messed up, but this is the reality of it. If you have an employee, you want to maximize the work that comes from that employee. You want to get the most out of them so that you feel as if your compensation that you're giving these people, us people, is actually worth it. Because if you physically take the amount of hours that we work, now I can't say the same for carriers because carriers be banging and some of them do a lot of work. But if you take the amount of work physically that one of us truck drivers do, okay, we get an 8-hour day. We work physically probably about 4.5, maybe 5 hours every day. Think about that. Same concept with mail handlers. There's some mail handlers that might do about 4, maybe 5 hours worth of work. Clerks, they're working all day. The clerks that work at the processing clerks, they're working. They're constantly working. And, props to them. They're kind of like robots. And then they figured out that they can get some robots to kind of replace them, which sucks. But at the end of the day, if we are not fulfilling not saying we should work every single minute that we're at work, but that's kind of how things are. You ever go down the street and you see construction on the road? Just imagine out of those 8 hours that the construction workers are out there, that they're only working 4 of those hours. You ever wonder why it takes them so long to complete the road? Just imagine if they were actually working the whole time. There are some people that work, or they were all chipping in to do whatever it is they're supposed to do. I mean, I don't know if any of this makes sense because I'm kind of talking in codes, but if we did more together and consistently worked, can you imagine just, going to a restaurant where it's busy, but the chef only cooks for 4 hours a day? Or 5 hours out the day? Think about that. Sounds weird, doesn't it? Or an iron worker. He's only working 4 or 5 hours out the day. We're the only, well, I ain't gonna say we're the only ones, but a lot of us, we don't do a lot of work, but we get paid for it. So this is what they're trying to do when they collect this data points. I hope this message makes sense to some people. And I don't want to sound like, part of management. No, because that's not the case. I'm just taking all the facts that are putting out there and presented to us. And all I'm saying is that if we have a certain feeling about rural carriers, we think that, they only work X amount of hours. But if Jamie King and his group of people that said, yes, this is what we want to do, created some change, then why can't we? If you feel like we're losing jobs, why can't we help create some change? United we stand and divided we fall. Stop saying not me, not my job, not my problem. All right, this is JH with a message. Sorry for the lack of animation. We're a little bit tired, but we out.
Unexpected expenses stressing you out? Get the money you need now with Loans for Feds, a program designed specifically for federal employees. Bad credit is not a problem. Application is fast and easy with same-day approvals. Apply now.